Here with Ed who's in London, and look, we're just going to talk a little bit about where he's at, mindset, and seeing if we can try to get things to the next level. So I'm just going to forget these cameras for the next few minutes, but tell me, what do you think the problem is right now going on in your life?
I always find, when I think Dan mentioned this, that when you have something that's really difficult to do, you focus on all the other things that you have to do as well, but are less difficult. And I think that's what I've been trying to do.
Okay.
Right, so, yeah, go ahead.
And what would you? So what do you? And so what's the biggest challenge right now you face?
It's selection of the chairman.
Okay, so you're trying to find a chairman right now.
Yes.
For your dream team,
That is
because you
correct.
want to roll up companies, kind of QLA style.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And so that's something you're struggling to know when to reach out to these people. Is that right? Tell me.
It is. Yeah. So maybe I'm too ambitious in my selection of the chairman, right? Because I want to, like Dan said, pick up somebody that you don't have to explain about, right? So I went through LinkedIn. I started with 3,000 people. I drilled down that to 300 people, and then I drilled that down to 15. I score them and everything.
Right.
Now
so
I kind of corner myself.
So these are high-level people.
Yes, they are.
So you're getting intimidated a little when you see these.
Yes.
The chairman of Citigroup, or the ex-chairman of this, or the ex-chairman of that.
Type of.
So it's already making you a little nervous. Probably.
Exactly.
Okay, continue.
So now I have these 15 people that I want to target. And I know it's a numbers game, but you don't want to waste your chips. So that's, you want to make that first contact count. You don't want to waste these contacts. On the other hand, I also don't feel very comfortable contacting people that I'm not really interested in.
All right,
at least not at this time.
So you've got the 15 that you've noticed, but you haven't yet contacted them.
That is correct.
Because you're telling yourself, I don't want to spend the chips.
Yes.
So you convinced yourself for a good excuse to wait.
Well, it's almost like I have to put together the infrastructure so that when I contact these people, I'm perfect.
Right.
Now, you're never going to be perfect.
And I read the rest of your form.
Yeah.
You've already picked out the right printing material and
Yeah.
the logo
Yeah.
and the mail metering things
Yes.
and all this other bullshit you're
Yeah.
spending time with
Yeah.
that has no real material difference on your business.
And that is
You agree with that, right?
I absolutely agree.
Okay.
And that's interesting because, I have no problem talking and selecting lawyers. I have no problem talking to and selecting accountants. Right. Going back to the United States on the 23rd, I'm interviewing a relatively high-profile accounting firm. Okay. So all of that aspect, which is lawyers, accountants, banks, in talks with.
But you're avoiding contacting the big dogs
Yes.
as chairman. Okay.
Yes.
And look, we're all avoiding something in life.
Yeah.
And like you said, we decide to do all the little things we're comfortable with, and we avoid the big one. And the crazy thing is the big one would have the biggest change in our life and our business.
Exactly.
It would almost be like the 10x, and then we're focusing on the little ones.
It is what you said about risk-reward. That is the biggest risk, and potentially where I'm going to get the biggest reward.
Right.
And that is what I'm most afraid of.
Okay, let's talk about you, because I think you said that when you look at maybe patterns of your life, sometimes you see recurring behaviors or thought patterns.
Yes.
Talk to me about what you mean by that. Is this you avoiding risk?
Yes, it is.
Being in fear? Tell me about this.
It is avoiding risk.
Where does that come from, do you think?
I don't know. We have to go to childhood.
Maybe we go to childhood. For me, if I look at my life, to be really honest with you, and by the way, the most I've gotten out of Dan Pena or any of my mentors is that, I was just at Dan Pena's Castle seminar, and I learned all about dream teams and rolling up companies and financials and seller finance, but that's not what Dan taught me. Right. Dan taught me that I fear risk, and that's my biggest problem. And so I have to know that and drive into it no matter what to be successful. He says, Brian, you're an engineer, and he said, you try to play it safe your whole life, and you try to play small your whole life because you want everyone to like you. That's what Dan says about me. And I used to think he was a full of shit old man. He didn't know what he was talking about, but he knows exactly what he's talking about.
True.
And for me, it goes back to when I was 7 years old, and my parents were divorced, and I was worried about people loving me. I think that's really what it was. And so the rest of my life, I played it carefully, because if I did something wrong, I think people would not love me. So I'm always being really calculated so I get it right, so I think I get love. Does that sound crazy?
No, it makes perfect sense.
And so people think that's not like a QLA thing to talk about, but it is, because high performance people have figured out these emotional loops inside of them. Yeah. So I know what you mean. So yeah, maybe we need to go back a little bit further for you. So I mean, think about childhood or relationship with parents, or was there any kind of event that you remember from your childhood with a peer group or something else that might have made you, pull back a little bit and not take that risk?
It's difficult to tell. My parents also divorced, so I think that there is a theme there.
What age?
I was 1.
1 year old?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. What do you remember from that? Or when you think about that event, how do you feel?
Well, I think it was unfortunate.
Do you have any anger for your dad or your mom?
Not in that sense. Like my father, even though he was not living with me, he came to visit nearly every weekend.
Okay.
So he was very, very into his son, right? He was not demonstrative because he was Chinese and old-fashioned.
Okay.
But
so he wouldn't give you that love?
No,
old
definitely
school.
not.
Old school.
Very old school.
Okay.
Very old school.
Okay. And what about your mom?
She worked a lot because she had to make financial. She was running the house effectively, right, financially and everything. And but I think it was a fairly positive relationship. Most of the work ethic aspects that I have, I learned from my mom.
Okay.
And most unfortunately, work ethic habits I probably pick up from my father.
Why are you scared then?
I don't know. It's it's difficult to say. I think it does have to do with the insecurity. I do not know if this is true. I'll say it now. 6 months from now, I may say it was totally wrong, right? But I think it's related to the insecurity of a broken home.
Okay. Of that broken home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That is.
Tell me more about that.
There's another aspect. My father, he left China when communism came about. So they were fairly wealthy, and they became destitute when they left China. Okay. So that is a story that has been told to me over and over again.
Okay.
So maybe between these two things.
Are you scared of being broke, maybe?
Not anymore.
Okay.
I was.
Okay.
I was.
Okay, you were. But not anymore.
Not anymore. November 27th, I left the bank that I worked for for 9 years, and I'm flying solo.
Well, that would make me scared.
It was not after I made the decision.
Okay. What about the pressure? I mean, there's a lot of pressure in Chinese culture to be successful and not shame the family.
Not a problem with that.
Not a problem with that.
I have no Chinese background in itself. Culturally, I have no Chinese background.
All right, but then maybe the broken home. I mean, you tell me, I'm just trying to figure out what could be that thing that's on the inside that if we can understand it better, might allow us to embrace that fear and risk,
Yeah, going back, that's what I think about. That is, I think about perhaps the fact that we were in a broken home, perhaps the fact that my father lost everything he had.
Okay. That's a big.
He had a mindset of you have a mindset of abundance. So what's the opposite?
Scarcity.
Yes, he had a tremendous mindset of scarcity.
So you must have it as well.
Maybe that's. Yeah.
We almost always get those relationships with money from our parents.
So maybe that's where it comes from. My mother, not so much. She was always very willing to take risks.
Okay. Is your dad still around?
No, they both have passed.
Both have passed. Did you ever have any resolution with your dad, or was he just really unemotional?
Yeah. Before he passed, I made peace. With him, and more recently, I am into this mindset that from the past, you only want things that bring you strength.
Okay.
So you kind of.
Why do you think you want to be successful? Like really, what do you think is at the core of it?
Because otherwise my life would have been meaningless.
Meaningless.
Yes.
Okay. For you, and
for everybody.
For everybody. And is that even for your parents? I mean,
well, they're gone.
But I mean, is your success ultimately honoring them even if they're gone?
I don't think in those terms.
Okay. So for you, you just don't want your life to be meaningless.
Yes.
And unless you can do something big and successful,
exactly right,
you'll feel like you let yourself down.
Absolutely.
All right. And you put a lot of pressure on yourself.
Of course.
Okay. So do I. So
maybe it's wrong. I don't know.
No, I don't know. I am my worst critic. Like I'm
right.
so hard on myself. I mean, one of the reasons I'm convinced that I started drinking and drinking heavily at like 18, 19 years old is because I think I needed a break from my own inner critic. I'm so hard on myself. And I mean, literally, I got straight A's at MIT in my sophomore year, and my brain still said it wasn't good enough. It was like, that's weak, Brian. You're in mechanical engineering. You're not in computer science. That would have been good.
Right.
And the whole thing, I get my first bonus on Wall Street, 6 figures. That's not good enough.
That's good.
Yeah, well, but I mean, yeah, that's good. I agree. But I mean, that can be torture as well, you know. And so, if you're putting so much pressure on yourself, it'll actually make you it'll make you frozen, you know, to where you can't make those moves. And look, I don't know if it's a Chinese culture thing or just you. Maybe it's just you and me that we put so much pressure on ourselves, but it does it in a way that can even traumatize yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have tried to unwind a little bit. Now it's kind of like a balance between the mode that.
Do you have negative self-talk? Do you tell yourself like it's not good enough?
No.
Okay.
I do.
Really? I bet you do.
No, but what I do is whenever something goes slightly wrong, I do think, you know, what could I have done differently? Okay. What could I have done better?
Okay. And so you're constantly replaying events. What could I have done better? I've got to get this thing right. This is important. My success defines who I am in life.
Yes, sort of, yes, but not from a material perspective, from an impact perspective.
Okay, I get it, but still it's the same thing.
Yes.
So Dan Pena says, money's not everything, but it's the only thing anybody keeps track of.
That is correct.
And I used to think that was kind of twisted, but I see what he says because for you in your heart, if you build a $1 billion business, it's not necessarily the money, but it means that you did something exceptional.
Exactly.
That's what it means. So I think that's what Dan means by keep track of, because it gives you a bar in your mind that this is what you're doing.
Yeah, a lot of his messages are all about metaphors, right?
Yeah, it's all metaphors. Yeah, and people get caught up in the minutia. I think your biggest problem is that you're putting so much pressure on your own performance that it's stopping you from moving forward. It's almost like there's so much at stake. It's like, do you have any kids?
No.
Chance? Okay. Well, it's like almost if you had something you really cared about, you're just being so careful like that it doesn't break, that you're just being really risk averse and you're not moving forward. And when I read your comments, for me it seemed really clear because you've got this list of chairmen, and yet you're busy doing logos and envelopes and things. And even you can tell that that's a behavior that doesn't do it. And so,
but that excuse is done because all of that work is done. The concern is that now I'm going to come up with something else to do.
All right. I think you need to get to a point where you can just say that. I mean, I think at some point you need to get to a place where you can acknowledge that you love yourself without the success. If you can do that and love Ed for Ed being a guy that's getting up this morning, pushing himself, taking risks, trying to build a business that helps other people, that's a guy you can be proud of. And honestly, then you release any outcome dependency. Does that make sense? And that's, I think, how you build a $1 billion business. I don't think it's about thinking that's what's going to define me, because that's going to take you years. Right. But if you can act as if today, like I'm already successful because I'm following my dreams, I'm doing it in a beautiful way, I'm going to build a beautiful board, a beautiful company. And let's be honest, to make $1 billion, you're going to have to probably add value to hundreds of millions of people and make their lives better.
Right.
So I think if you can get that in your heart, that Ed is successful now, you're a successful human being because you're doing the right thing, you're committed, right? You quit your job, you're fully committed, but I think you need to love yourself now as opposed to later.
That is definitely something that I would need to work on. If that is the path, it is definitely something I need to work on.
Let me tell you something else that's going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
if you don't do this now, when you build that $1 billion business and Dan Pena puts you on his wall of fame,
I like that.
You're not actually going to love yourself then, because the money and the success isn't going to fill the hole in your heart. You know, it just won't. And I know that because I've been there and done that. And Dan could even tell you that. It's just we think that's what's going to fill this, but it actually won't. So I would argue that not only do you need to do it now to be successful, but if you don't do it now, you'll never do it. And it's understanding that part of you that wants to be like, I gotta do this with my life or it's gonna be a waste, as opposed to what I'm doing right now is the perfect thing to do. I had a guest on my show who says you should meditate on your death every day. He says, I meditate on my death every day. And he says to himself, if I were to die today, would I be happy? And let me ask you that question. If you were to die today, would you be happy? Exactly, right? And so I want you to get to a point where you can say yes. Now I think the Ed that says yes to that, or at least 80% yes, the guy that says yes today is the guy that today contacted 5 of those chairmen, the guy that is moving forward with tremendous acceleration to where you're proud of yourself. You look in the mirror when you go home tonight and you're like, fuck, I really crushed it today. Okay, you don't have the $1 billion valuation, but you are doing things that you would have been terrified to do months ago. You're contacting chairmen, you're pulling the trigger, you're getting some failures, but you're also racking up these successes. I think if you could be that guy, that if you can flip that switch, you get to the next level. What do you think about that?
I think that makes a lot of sense.
So it starts with some action, because action gets you there.
Right.
So why can't we reach out to those chairmen now? You have the scarcity mentality you got from your dad.
That is true.
I can feel it, and I saw it in your comments, because you said there's only 15 board members in the New York, New Jersey area, and I was like, come on, this is the greater New York City area, there's a lot more than that. But you're telling yourself in this scarcity mindset that
is true.
I gotta make this count, and it's holding you back. And so you need to take action now and give yourself momentum. I guarantee once you contact those first 5, and I don't know how they're gonna go, and I don't care. To be honest, you're going to fire chairman over the course of the thing. I mean, some of Dan Pena's guys, they go through board members like they go through underwear. Like seriously, it's nothing set in stone. So I think we need to get that hole in there and say, okay, and I think get an affirmation in there and say, I am being successful today. I am successful. I love Ed. Ed is crushing it. And then the Ed that you love is moving forward and pulling the trigger.
Okay.
So we need to reach out to that chairman, like,
no problem.
Now, like today. I think you should message one of them on LinkedIn. And again, you're going to say, well, I don't have the exact form and the exact email and stuff like that, but I think that's what you need to do, and then also use that to build momentum. I think that's the biggest thing you're suffering from now, and it's not the QLA; it's just you.
Yeah, I'm sure it is me at some level. And I think what you described makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Will you make those reaches out today? Will you reach out to 5 chairmen today? I know, I can see you're getting nervous right now.
Yes, I am.
But unless you take this action, you're going to find some reason tomorrow, or you go back to New York City and you'll be like, I know Brian said that, but I got to get it right again.
Yeah.
But
no, I'll do it.
Okay. You should do it right now.
I just thought of a reason not to do it. Look at that. My phone, it doesn't work here. Yes.
Another great excuse, right? I got a laptop out there, I'm going to give it to you. But look, remember, your default is to go back to Ed, which is a combination of a lot of things. Okay, your dad's in there, the scarcity mentality, your dad's in there. You say you don't want to prove anything to them, but them and you is a big thing, right? So you're really hard on yourself. So you got to, every time you go to a decision, you got to remember you got these things sitting on your shoulders. You got scarcity Ed, and you've got not good enough Ed, or Ed is only defined by his success Ed. And you've got to just throw both of those out the window and say, my default is to hesitate to act because of these 2 demons on my shoulder, and I'm going to ignore them today and move forward. And when you start taking that action, then you'll start to see it, and then it'll get to be where you do it regularly and you take risk regularly. And this took me some time, but I did it. So again, like I have a simple process. I call it resist and transform. But the first is acknowledging where you're at. So I appreciate you doing this. So I think we acknowledge that there's some scarcity.
Yes.
You're putting everything on a future outcome, which, I mean, do you agree with me that's ridiculous? Or do you actually think that the future results will make you happy?
I see what you're saying. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
because there's always more.
Do you think Elon Musk is waiting until he gets to Mars to be happy?
No.
Do you think Elon Musk is waiting for Tesla to be worth $10 billion to be happy?
Maybe he isn't.
I think he's happy now.
Yeah.
I think he loves being out there, chopping it up, talking trash to the SEC on Twitter. I think he loves doing that, and that's why we love him, and that's why he's successful.
I see.
He's not waiting to give permission to be good enough or successful. I need you to give yourself permission today, and that's an affirmation I need you to say every morning. That's what I do. So Ed is a successful businessman. Maybe you say I'm the CEO of $1 billion company. So you've already got it. You act as if. The CEO of $1 billion company, is he scared to send a message on LinkedIn to a chairman?
No.
Not at all. And again, not at all. And again, that scarcity mentality, we got to find some way of overcoming it there, because there is a surplus of chairmen, board members, capital. You already feel that way about accountant firms and the law firms.
Right, certainly.
So you need to just flip. There's a surplus of that stuff.
Yes.
And again, you're going to be going through these people anyway. So if you can come with those mentalities, that's going to work out really well. So again, one of the next steps I use is to purge, and that means you got to get rid of. Usually it's bad people in your life, but it doesn't sound like you have those people. But
no,
it's
happened.
It's the bad mentalities.
Right.
So scarcity Ed and outcome dependency Ed, we got to just get rid of those guys. So purge all of those behaviors. When you ever feel those thoughts coming up, get rid of them, and use those affirmations every morning to move that forward. And then constantly you're going to have to do what I call resistance training, which is resist that stuff every single day. So just be wary of it, look at it, and then find someone to hold you accountable to get this done. So is there anyone that's holding you accountable? So where they're going to be like, where's my board? Because you can get a board in 2 weeks. You should be able to land a chairman in 2 weeks. One of the guys in the castle did it in 3 days. Dan's already asking me.
You're tough.
I am tough. But you should have a chairman. You should have at least 3 chairmen that are interested in the next 2 weeks. I mean, it's a LinkedIn message. You tell them the dream that you have. They would at least say, yeah, I'd love to meet with you. Again, you'd be surprised what they would do, but you need that accountability, and I would like to hold you accountable.
Okay.
So 2 weeks from now, I'd like to see the chairman that you've spoken to. Today,
Can we curse him?
Today,
Can we curse here?
Yes.
Fuck.
Today you need to reach out to 5 chairmen. Will you do that today on
Yes.
LinkedIn? Do that on LinkedIn. You have the script. And remember, this is a process you're going to constantly have to go back to, all right?
Right.
And I've been doing this my life. I always, when Dan Pena told me this, I always had to resist the urge to play conservative again. I never wanted to spend money on my business. I never wanted to take risks with my business. But now I've gotten in the process where I actually look now and I'm thinking, I'm not risking enough this year.
Right, right.
And if I don't do it, I'm not going to have the big wins that make me feel good about myself. And I'm also still trying to make myself feel good about myself now, because that whole illusion that happiness comes in the future is a total illusion. I'm convinced that people who believe that are wrong. You got to be happy now with doing what you're doing, and you should be happy.
Yeah.
You're doing QLA. You're excited. You're going to have board members soon. You'll be making acquisitions. You're living your dream. You quit your job, so you feel good about this, and that doesn't scare you.
No,
which is a good thing.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Even the spending money thing is no problem.
All right.
I like that part.
So that's good. All right. So we just need to remember the default is having those few things about you. I think the scarcity, the outcome dependent, and judging you on the future. But again, get yourself into the now. Be proud of Ed now. Fight that scarcity. And remember, that's all it is. The perfect thing that I want you to always remember is, Brian was talking about my envelopes and my logo when I should have been talking about my chairman. Right? And the envelopes and the logo, I mean, I'll be harsh on you, are the silliest things ever, right? Logos and names and all that stuff. It's just whenever I hear my students talking about that, I can see they're not attacking what is the big internal resistance, which is the fear.
I see.
If you can get this fear and scarcity and abundance mentality in, you're going to be successful. I know it. All right? So 5 today, send me screenshots. You got my email.
Yeah.
And then chairman in 2 weeks. Can you do that for me?
Yes.
All right, and I'll see you Saturday as well, right, at the event?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We'll be there.
Ed, I really appreciate this. I'm looking forward to your success going forward. You've got all the tools, man. The only one that can stop you is you.
Thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you very
Pleasure.
much. All right.
We're in a dark age. We've lost our compass. We don't know who we are. We don't know where we want to go. What is to be done?
going to take some consciousness change to get us out of the box we're in.
La maldición de ayahuasca, nosotros podemos conectar con esa persona y le da cuenta dónde está la raíz del problema de él. Pues ahí se trabaja.
Sometimes I feel anxious and unappreciative of the things I have.
There's no such thing as work-life balance. There are work-life choices, and you make them, and they have consequences.
What we don't understand about psychedelics is a very thick book. They can help you orient yourself morally, but look the hell out.
You don't always get what you want with ayahuasca, but you always get what you need.
The diseases of individual are the diseases of the world. Our culture, soul, is severely wounded.
Humanitarian crisis growing by the day.
Global warming is the greatest fraud that's been perpetrated on mankind this century.
When you take these lessons in, it's kind of a process to make sure that it comes into yourself. Some of the hardest work is when you go home. Integration means bringing things into the whole person.
Maybe we should be considering that the depth of human experience is more than just material things and technology and our egos.
We all get stuck in a mold. That's what can happen with ayahuasca. You get that mold, and she fucking smashes it on the floor. Now, what are you gonna do? Now who are you?
Heavens are collapsing. This is the time to change. If you want to raise human consciousness, there has never been a better time.
La ayahuasca nos fortalece nuestra mente, nos abre nuestra creatividad, nuestro amor, nos conecta uno a uno mismo.
Treno ayahuasca supai kuna chamuriri mushamu. Siji siji manjeji poshamu.